This episode of TRS is brought to you by Audible.com. Get a free audiobook at audiblepodcast.com/totallyrad. Coming up on today's show, we check out a new downloadable game called Outland.
Hello everybody and welcome to the Totally Rad Show. We've got a great week today. We're going to be talking about the new Xbox Live Arcade game, Outland.
Tuesday, we're checking in with board games, a brand new board game called Alien Frontiers.
Correct.
And on Wednesday, Jeff runs the Ragnar. Tune in to find out what that means.
Does he survive?
Dan and I sleep in. Thursday, we finally get to see the much anticipated all-female comedy Bridesmaids.
And then Friday, we wrap things up with a game that has been sweeping the nation. Title fight.
Yeah, baby. First off, awesome background.
Yeah, it's very appropriate because we're doing a board game this week. That's us as tiny D&D miniatures and a very cool 20-sided die.
Yeah, thanks to send in by Will Noble, right?
Thank you, Will, longtime viewer of the show.
Correctamundo. All right, well, let's get into it, shall we?
Let's do it. A lot of big $60 titles coming up in the next couple of weeks, but this week we're taking a little bit of an inhale before that big exhale of craziness and talking about a smaller game, a downloadable title that came out a couple of weeks ago called Outland. It's from Ubisoft, and you know, these modern versions of classic games has become quite the trend lately. We've talked about a number of them, and Outland is similarly a throwback in the sense that it is really that Metroid Castlevania 2D style exploration, gather new powers, kill enemies, platformer that I think we all grew up with, and I'm sure many of you did as well. And Outland really sticks to that style quite a bit. You have the big overworld map, there's a lot of backtracking like in Castlevania and Metroid. And the new twist that it adds to the mix is this polarity idea that your character has both the light and the dark, he acquires it at some point, and can switch between that by pressing the right bumper at any time. And when you are light, which is basically red, or dark, which is basically blue,
it's the other way around.
Other way around?
Yeah.
Doesn't matter.
So, well, Ubisoft would disagree.
It's like Tron.
Yeah,
glowy.
exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Anywho, there's enemies of one color that you can only attack if you're the opposite color, and there's also beams of energy that are constantly spewing around that if you are that color, they don't hurt you, but if you are the other color, they do, and you'll constantly have to be leaping through and flipping your polarity back and forth to protect yourself. A really interesting mechanic. People have said it's like Ikaruga, which I never really played, but it's a bullet hell game that has that polarity. Alexander Bibo.
Yes.
What did you think of Outland?
It is Monday. I don't think that joke is
nobody knows.
Till the end of the week, right?
Last week we did it.
Yeah, I really like this game a lot. There's a lot of fun. I think that I've been really happy with the sort of quality at which we are now seeing with these 2D side-scrollers.
Yeah.
You know, because before it was sort of like the 2D side-scroller and it was like, you know, no voiceover, the art design was sort of okay, but really now we're starting to see these sort of almost what you would consider AAA titles back in the 90s.
For sure.
For like $10 or whatever.
Yeah, if this had come out in '92, I would have been like, this is the greatest game ever made!
If this was on the Sega Genesis, I'd be like, my mind is blown! You know what I mean? Hold the 2 buttons and you change polarity, you know what I mean? Yeah, so I had a really, really good time. It's unfortunate I didn't get a chance to play some of the co-op stuff.
Right, there's a big co-op mode.
Big co-op stuff, yeah. But if the co-op stuff is anything like the single player, it's really fun, inventive. I thought that the polarity stuff was really interesting, and it's funny, it made me, I don't usually like the backtracking stuff so much, but for whatever reason, in this game, it was really kind of fun, because like, you would jump through this, like before you got the blue thing, you would jump through this thing that was like blue and sitting there, and you're like, I'm gonna be able to go up there someday. You know what I mean?
That's that classic
Yeah.
Metroid Castlevania thing where it's like,
Yeah.
I know I'm going to be able to use
yeah,
that.
yeah.
Just fun tease.
Yeah.
I like that.
So it was fun. I had a great time jumping through stuff and flipping the switchy while you're flying. It's
Yeah.
pretty good.
I'll tell you what helps with the backtrack stuff in this game, and where maybe this is what helped you have fun with the backtrack stuff. Because I had fun playing this game. I really love this game, and I don't typically love. I typically love games like this, but I don't love backtracking in games. And because you had a map that constantly told you where to go, not just a map where you had to figure out where to go on it, but I was always just going to the next goal.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter if it's in front of me or behind me or where, forward tracking, backtracking, whatever, I'm going to the goal.
Yeah,
so,
that's smart.
But you also get
right
the feeling of one day I'll get,
Yeah.
Not only was the map showing you the next goal, but there was also these fluttering petals.
But I found that they would go flutter off, and I was like, which direction did they go? I was doing something.
Yeah.
I was looking. Anyway,
I mean, I never felt like I didn't know where to go.
Did you feel like it was a little hand-holdy?
No.
Okay.
Especially because they just left. I was like, all right.
I love the setting of Outlands. It's set in this Aztecian, South American tribal lore that has not been explored, I don't think, at all in video games, or very rarely. But on top of that, look, so the art style
There's a game
is
called Aztec something that I remember loving that was a side scroller.
Interesting.
Back on like the Sega Master System.
Yeah.
Aztec Adventure, maybe? Aztec Adventure?
I mean,
I'm gonna have to look it up.
it's in here and there, but
Yeah.
especially the art style is gorgeous. The movements, I love the huge floaty jump and the slide and the wall jumping. Love the platforming, and with the addition of that polarity stuff, it almost makes a puzzle out of how do I? But it's a Twitch puzzle in a way. It's like it's not just how do I do it and then I do it. It's like how do I do it and then to pull off the dexterity finger movements of switching on the fly is a challenge and a lot of fun.
Game gets hard.
Yeah.
Game gets very hard. But I will say this: it's a wonderful throwback to those old games that we all grew up with and love, and you don't really get to play those type of games anymore. But it's also very modern in its sensibilities because, as much as it is picking up a lot of the good qualities of those games in design, it's leaving out things that are unnecessary anymore. For example, there's no lives or continues.
Yeah.
There's no need for that in a modern game. Yes, it still has hearts and you collect hearts and there's a currency system, you can collect coins and buy more hearts, which makes sense in the context of this type of game. But when I die, it just goes back to the next checkpoint.
Yeah.
There's no need for it to be like, well, I lost a life, and then now I'm gonna run out of lives, and now I have to continue. It's a completely vestige of an outdated. Exactly.
It was trying to take your money. I mean, that was it.
Exactly. And I don't understand why games need to give me game over screens and stuff like that. This game realizes it doesn't need to do that.
You've already paid for the game.
And that goes a long way to making it less frustrating and making the fun just continue instead of feeling like, oh God, I have to restart. It's an awesome game. I'm completely addicted to it. It's a long game. It's difficult. There's some crazy moments, huge boss battles that are really fun. But you're talking about a puzzle, Twitch puzzle. There's these rooms you get into, and there's these fountains of energy of multiple colors, and they're crossing in front of each other, and you're like, how am I even going to get through this? It's so much fun. It's such a great game, and it's only 800 Microsoft points. So it's not that expensive.
So worth it, yeah.
I think this is a total home run. And
did you get to play any of the co-op stuff?
Yeah, we tested it a little bit. I thought you had said you were gonna play. But
I was gonna, but then
I never got around.
Yeah.
It's cool. I mean, you can play through the entire story mode with just 2 people, which is better because you can resurrect your friend too. So if you die at a certain thing,
you don't have to go all the way back to the checkpoint, even though that's not that far back. But sometimes it's a little bit like, oh, I've done this.
You know what was interesting about that is when you typically would do that in a game, if your friend kept going, you would wait for me. Like the screens, you know what I mean? But because we're playing on separate
televisions,
you don't have to worry about that. That was this little frustration that went away.
Yeah.
But I also didn't really feel any urge to. I kind of felt like you just make it. The other person just makes it a little bit more confusing, and I feel a little more rushed. And
you didn't like that.
I don't think it's necessary to play the game that way. But the co-op challenges are a lot of fun. Very difficult, but fun, much more puzzly, much
sort
more
of Portal
it's just a puzzle.
You need to work together to get it solved. Yeah, that's cool.
And very, very hard.
Yeah.
You know, there's a significant challenge there.
I will say one thing we didn't say in our Portal review that I wanted to say that I saw, that I noticed in this game was the save points in Portal were spectacular. There was never, whenever I solved something in Portal 2, I didn't have to solve it again.
Right.
Interesting.
Whereas this game,
deal.
yes, you're right, no continues, whatever, but I had to go through, rehash some shit I did.
That's kind of the challenge of this game, I think, though. It's this getting to a checkpoint and and seeing it. It's not just like the game automatically saves. I got to a checkpoint. Oh, thank goodness I don't have to do that.
And there were a couple times where I was like, okay, pressure's off, this next thing, I can just whatever.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
yeah,
Like,
exactly.
I'm gonna get back right here, it's fine.
Right.
It's awesome that we're seeing these throwback games, I think.
Oh, yeah,
And
and
downloadable.
Yeah.
What were you gonna say?
I was nothing. I'm just gonna look up Aztec Adventure because now I'm like, my little Alex heart is going. Remember the game with Aztec something Aztec something?
Oh, you're tiny.
It's a gorgeous. I love that old. It's old-fashioned, but with the glowy blue and the
very
Tron-like
Tron-like
glow,
character.
like in the old Aztec tribe thing.
But then also has that great fluid motion that like Prince of
it.
Persia first did, and you were like,
Totally feels like Prince of
it
Persia.
looks like he's running.
It's interesting that
Yeah.
Ubisoft seems. I think of Prince of Persia, Beyond Good and Evil, and
Splinter Cell.
No, they just did another
Assassin's Creed?
Assassin's Creed.
Yeah, yeah.
They've really. It seems like they're into this kind of thing. They're into this.
French Canadians, what are you gonna do?
Yeah, running around. Parkour is a French-Canadian term. French.
I think it's a total win.
Definitely. Go get it. All right, everybody, remember to stick around for this day in rad history, but first, sponsors, Jeff Kanata.
Oh my gosh, I get so excited when we get sponsored by Audible.com. Audible.com is a repository of audiobooks. They have over 75,000 titles.
Wow.
And so pretty much any book you could possibly look for or want. And audiobooks are fantastic for being able to listen to books, to consume great literature, and also be able to do other things at the same time. I enjoy exercising, listening to audiobooks. It's the only way I can exercise, really. I have a hard time listening to music, but I feel like I'm getting something done when I'm listening to a book in my ear holes.
That's a good place to put it.
I would recommend a book that I can recommend myself for audio. I can't remember what it was that I was going to recommend.
You're like trying to buy yourself some time.
I am for
like
myself. The guy
myself will
I'm going to
recommend.
recommend. What was the book? Oh, one of my favorite books ever. I think you read it. One of you guys read it. Heartbreaking Work of Staggering Genius.
Must have been down.
No, David
Never
Eggers.
read any David Eggers. I should
His
listen to
breakout work, of course, now he's worked in film and all kinds of crazy other projects. It's one of my favorite books. It is a heartbreaking work of staggering genius. Never was there a more apt title. I'm sure it's on Audible. They have everything. But
Well,
you can get a
75,000 titles. It's intense.
yeah. You can get a free audiobook by going to audiblepodcast.com/totallyrad. I highly recommend it. Great service.
That's how badass they are. They have so many titles that we don't even need to look up if they cover one of these.
It's in there.
It's gotta be in the
exactly.
library.
Yeah.
We get to be lazy.
Amazing. All right, we'll see you tomorrow. What?
We're back with board games tomorrow. Alien Frontiers.
All right, so today is May 9th, and on this day, way back in 1893, the first public demonstration of the Edison-Dixon kinetoscope happened. Now,
What
the
is that?
kinetoscope was a box type
What's in the
device
box?
that would hide all this stuff that you could look up. You could basically put your face to, and then you could see what was the precursor to motion picture stuff. It was
Private movie
A
theaters.
strip of, well, it's not.
A strip of film goes by light, and you look
Yep.
in and you see it move. They have tucked away at Disneyland.
Sounds so simple. Why didn't Edison
They-
invent that sooner?
Yeah.
Easy peasy.
That's just a strip of video.
Yeah, just
At Disneyland, there's an animation building in the park that you would never know exists, and you go in there and you see all the old. It's awesome. You can see all the old.
kinetoscopes?
Yeah, things like you can make your own. You can draw an old thing and you put in a thing and you spin it and you can look in and
Oh,
see it
that
move.
doesn't animate at
It's
all.
it's a really cool thing. It's where they have the
advertise that building.
turtle that talks to you from. I didn't see that, but from Finding Nemo, the turtle like talks to you and stuff. Anyway,
Oh, cool.
People talk about that. Animation building, Disneyland. See a kinetoscope.
Amazing. Thank you, Andra Babo.
Sent in by Alexandra Babette.
Alexandra Babo.